I'm still getting organized here, even though I've been here for 45 minutes. Good morning. Welcome to First Parish Unitarian Universalist Church here in Plymouth on this beautiful autumn day. My name is Chris Lennon. My pronouns are he, him, and his. In the order of the service, it says that Nicolette Chasse is the worship associate. I'm filling in for Nicolette today. And she's filling in graciously for our Reverend, our little boy, who hasn't been feeling well this week. He has tested negatively for COVID 3 times, so that's looking positive. That's a good thing. But we all pray for speedy recovery for our minister. Del Hammond is also filling in like I am today. Del Hammond is filling in for Julia Thomas for the coffee hour. Sandy Hammond here is not filling in as musical director, and neither is Lydia Robertson, who's kind of in the background there, our technical director today. But once again, welcome to our blessed community here at First Parish. No matter who you are, where you come here from, who you choose to love, where you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. Do you want to say a few words about the coffee? About the
Good morning, everyone. So, like Chris said, I'm filling in for Art this morning. This was actually supposed to be a service hosted by both Art and myself. Unfortunately, you are just stuck with me today. And that being said, Art, we do hope you feel better soon. You are sorely missed. For those of you who notice all the cameras in the room, we are doing this live. We are live on Zoom right now, and our services are going to be like this from now on, basically, which gives our members who are traveling, who are sick, who are unable to come in for any reason, the ability to still be a part of this community, even if they can't be here physically. If you're watching this after the service, we're no longer live. So if you're watching this on YouTube, on Facebook, or on public access television, we are going to be editing out the Canvas portion just to preserve the privacy of the members of our community. But we otherwise are doing this live from now on, which is really exciting, and thank you so much to Lydia for being able to do that. This was something I think we dreamed of when we first went onto Zoom during the beginning of the pandemic, and now that we can have this hybrid way, this is, I think, going to be really helpful to a lot of people. We are also doing Time for Ages. We are singing the children out today. Deb is sick, she is dealing with the death in the family, so Amy has graciously agreed to fill in today, so we will be singing the children out as per usual. And with that, I turn it back over to Chris for our call to worship.
call to worship this morning. Let us be a people non-forgetting. Reverend Karen G. Johnston. And we gather this morning, as we gather this morning, let us be a people non-forgetting. Let us practice holding collective memories that might otherwise slip into that enormous void that sucks at and corrodes any future we hold dear. Let us practice honoring truth-telling up from the past that must come fully into the now, lest we falter and fail, lest the whole remain in pieces. Let not our need for comfort or simplicity, for easy forgiveness or false pardon, smother the heartbreak that still needs healing. Let us practice resilience with reckoning. Let us marry memory and promise. Let us dance in the tension we find there. Let us rest in the integrity we cultivate there. Let us be partners with the possibility that emerges there. It is good that we gather. Please join us in our opening hymn this morning, which is number 1069. It will also be on the screen. The words, Ancient Mother.
Chasse lighting as a sign of the community that we are all a part of. Love is the spirit of the church, and service is law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you so much to my assistants.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Okay, this morning's reading, It Is That Time and That Place, by Kayla Parker. Now is the time to call the memories of the ancestors who thought they could not walk another step toward freedom, and yet they did. It is that time and place to call the memories of the ancestors who, when the darkness of their lives threatened to take away the hope and light, reached a little deeper and prayed yet another prayer. It is that time and place to remember those who came through the long night to witness another sunrise. It is that time and place to remember the oceans of tears shed to deliver us to this time, to remember the bent knees and bowed backs, to remember the fervent voices asking, begging, and beseeching for loved ones sold off. Time to remember their laughter and joy, though they had far less and less reason for optimism, yet they stayed on the path toward a better day. Time to hold to the steadfast hands and hearts and prayers of the ancestors that have brought us this far. Time to make them proud and show them and ourselves what we are made of. Did you know that this day would come? Did you know that we would have to change places? Did you know that just as our ancestors were delivered, that you would also be delivered? Have you not seen the greatness and power of the creative energy in the universe called God that moves us and has its being through human agency? Have you not seen God in your neighbors' faces, in the homeless, in the battered women, the trafficked child, the undocumented worker, the dispossessed? It is that time and that place to know that it is our turn, that we must leave a legacy for our children and all children. It is that time and that place. We are the ones we've been waiting for. For that, let us be eternally grateful.
So tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day, and when Art asked if anyone in the worship and music committee was interested in doing a service in October, and let us know what the theme was, which is heritage, I immediately volunteered. I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about right away, because it is Indigenous Peoples Day. And like I said earlier, this was supposed to be both me and Art each providing our own reflection, but instead you're just stuck with me. As we all know, before we called tomorrow's holiday Indigenous Peoples Day, we called it Columbus Day, to honor Christopher Columbus. However, Christopher Columbus did not discover the Americas, as As recent findings in New Mexico have shown, there have been people walking on the continent of North America, or Turtle Island, for over 20,000 years. This land has always been someone's home. And indeed, it is better, I believe, that we celebrate Indigenous Peoples' Day tomorrow, rather than Columbus Day. It is better to celebrate the legacy of 20,000 years of human habitation on Turtle Island, of the vast, diverse cultures that were here long before anyone who looked like you or me stepped foot onto what we now call Plymouth. And I think heritage is a wonderful thing, don't get me wrong. As anyone who knows me knows, I take great pride in my own heritage. I, however, want to use this time to interrogate the shadow of heritage that many of us carry with us. I am Polish American on my mother's side, as she immigrated to the United States back in the 1980s. I am also French Canadian on my father's side. And it is this side where I wanted to do some reflection and talk a bit about. My ancestors were among the French colonists that settled Quebec in the 1630s and 1640s. My heritage has some beautiful things to it. A fierce pride in our French language, to the point where even my father, his first language was French. He has since forgotten it, which is why I had to learn it in school, but that is something that my family carried quite closely. We have a deep love and loyalty to our family. We have some delicious food, which, as anyone who's had French Canadian cuisine knows, whether it's our toys or our poutine, we French know how to cook. And what I think are some of the most beautiful cities in Canada. If you've ever been to Old Quebec or Montreal, they are utterly charming and unlike anything else I've seen in North America. My ancestors were farmers and fur traders who sought to make a better life and passed on those traditions and that work ethic to my family members and to me. My heritage is one of enduring harsh conditions and seemingly impossible situations and coming out stronger for it. But there is also a darker side to my heritage. My heritage is one of colonization and the horrors that came with it. French colonizers helped perpetuate acts of genocide among First Nations and Indigenous peoples, waged war against the Haudenosaunee Nation, which we more frequently refer to as the Iroquois Nation. Those acts of violence are a part of my heritage as well. Residential schools and all of the horrors that they wrapped are part of my heritage too. I, like every person of colonial descent, owe a debt that our ancestors invoked when they came to these shores and repaid hospitality with blood. So, in observing Indigenous Peoples' Day, I have to ask, how can I acknowledge and account for the past? I think it's essential that I do both. By sharing my family's history with you today, I am acknowledging it and speaking of it. I have to acknowledge as well that the lands that my family settled some 400 years ago, long before I was even a glint in the tapestry of life, was stolen from its original inhabitants. I acknowledge that my ancestors and I still benefit from a system of oppression, even if we didn't directly participate in acts of genocide. And while I certainly cannot single-handedly pay reparations, if I had that kind of money, I would, there are other things I can do, like talking about my story and my heritage. I can also help support Indigenous and First Nation causes, like speaking up against pipeline development, such as the DAPL. I can help speak up about causes that impact First Nations and Native American people throughout the country. For example, 40% of the Navajo reservation does not have access to running water. which is a tragedy in what is supposed to be one of the most developed nations on earth. I can give directly to causes such as the Navajo Water Project, or I can support Indigenous artists and creators and farmers. But speaking up also has its power. You need to be able to put both words and actions together in order to fully talk about one's heritage. There are those at work in our country right now who teach a whitewashed version of history, deny the shadows of our country's heritage. We owe it to our children, to future generations, to teach our full history, not just the success that comes in building the United States, but also the costs that went into that: genocide, slave labor, acts of discrimination. We owe it to ourselves and to others to acknowledge both the beautiful parts of our history and our heritage, the strong traditions, holiday traditions that we carry forward and hold closely, the deep love that we have and loyalties to our families, our pride in our heritage, while also acknowledging that, yes, there is a shadow to it, because nothing in life can exist without that shadow. We must acknowledge that which has been eliminated, absolutely. But we also need to acknowledge the fact that there has been great harm done to many, many people in this country and on Turtle Island generally. And in honoring this Indigenous Peoples Day tomorrow, I would ask not only of myself, but everyone to think about the fullness of one's heritage. Think about how there are forces at work trying to deny the Robertson heritage, who would rather have Christopher Columbus Day, honoring a man who committed horrible acts of violence and depravity, and honor instead the humanity of Indigenous peoples throughout the United States, throughout Canada, throughout the world. We owe it to ourselves, to our children, to our country, and the world to know, acknowledge, and teach the fullness of our heritage. And our closing hymn today, on that very positive note, our closing hymn today is number 121, We Will Build a Land.
Anointed by God, may then create peace.
benediction, I am actually just going to reread part of the opening of the call to worship that Chris read earlier. I think it's just some beautiful language, and it's very poignant. Let us practice resilience with reckoning. Let us marry memory and promise. Let us dance in the tension we find there. Let us rest in the integrity we cultivate there. Let us be partners with the possibility that emerges there.
Ancient mother, I hear you calling. Ancient mother, I hear your song. Ancient mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient mother, I taste your tears.
It is now time where, on behalf of Art, I announce that we are doing our time for offering. Your financial gifts of treasure are much appreciated. They are what keeps the lights on, the heat running when it gets cold, the AC when it gets hot in this building, and allows our community to do all the things that we want to do. With that, I invite our greeters forward. And thank you for your generous gifts. And if you are like me and you just never carry cash, it happens. It is 2023. Feel free to give online. You can find that information on our website, which is www.firstparishplymouthuu.org. It is now time for us to share our joys and sorrows as a community. If anyone has any sorrows or joys that they would like to share, I invite you to stand up and share them at this time. And this last candle is for all the joys and concerns that we hold in our heart that people maybe didn't want to share. And for today's pastoral prayer, it is by Reverend Scott Taylor. We gather as a house of stories, as a shelter shot through with memories that speak, that long for us to listen, without which we would easily lose our way. As we learn of those who have gone before, the way in front of us becomes more clear. As we remember what they survived and what they sacrificed, for the faceless us who would come after, we find courage far beyond what we could muster on our own. Beneath this seemingly worn-out world, there are wells from which we can drink. Come, let our thirst guide us there. Come, let these sweet ghosts whisper their gifts. And now let us take a quiet moment to meditate or pray, whatever feels right.
all this joy, all this sorrow, all this promise, all this pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, city of joy, city of sorrow, city of promise, city of pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, world of joy, world of sorrow, world of promise, world of pain, such is life, such is being, such is spirit, such is love, all this joy, all this promise, all this promise, all this pain, such is life, such is